number 4. Let's check the time. Okay, it's already 45 minutes. Let's now move on to the program number 5. The program number 5 says to print the number of records present in player.csv, including as well as excluding the header. So I'll just copy and paste it. Let's not waste time. So yes, I need this. Just copy and paste it. Okay, or I'll just type. I love to do the programming. So now this time I need to count the number of records in player.csv. So if I include the header, the answer should be 4. If I exclude the header, the answer should be 3. So with open, and then the name of the file is player.csv, and then sf. Alright, and then let's create the reader object. csvr equal csv dot reader, and then you will have the file object of f. It's very simple. And then for row in csvr colon, but before this I'll have to take the help of a variable which will help us to keep the count of number of records. So that's going to be count. Initially the value of count understandably has to be 0. Okay, so as long as it's iterated, as long as there is something to iterate upon, I would like to increment the value of count by 1. So this is equal to count plus 1, right? And then I'll just come out of the loop, and then I'll print a message saying number of records in player file is equal to the count. Okay, so the program is simple, right? So now this time I'll get the answer as 4 because it will take the header into consideration. So I'm including the header, the first row as well. Let's say I now want to exclude the header. I now would like to exclude the header. So there are a couple of ways to do it. So I hope you remember the next, the function. So the next function, like I said, will return the first row, and then it will push the iterator to the next line. And then from there on, if we start to count, it will exclude the header. So let's use the next function. So it's a nice way to use the next function again in some other format. So the next function, what's happening? Next, ext. Okay, so the reader object will be csvr. So this will pick up the first record. It will be assigned to header. The iterator will now be pointing at the second row, and the second row is where the actual record starts. And then if I run the program, I should get the answer as 3. Okay, so this time the reader object would now be pointing at the second row, and then from there on, from the second record, the loop will start to execute 3 times. Each time the loop executes, the count will be incremented. That's how I get the count of the records excluding the header. Alright, so but there is another way to do it using a function called num_line. So we'll try to understand the functioning of this line_num, not directly, okay, not verbally, not straight away, rather through a function. So you'll be able to see the effect of the function, thereby you'll be able to understand better. So let's convert the entire program into a function. So for a single line comment, we use the hash. Often, one marker question comes in the exam. How do you, change a line of statement into the comment? So the answer should be the hash. but if you want to convert a block into a comment, you'll have to use 3 double quotes. I repeat, 3 double quotes, not 6 single quotes. 6 single quotes, looks like 3 double quotes, but they are technically different. So 1, 2, 3. So I'll just get rid of 3 and then just come here and then till this point I would like to convert the entire block into the program, into the comments. Okay, so now this, the program has been converted to comments. They are just plain text, nothing happens. So the Python interpreter will ignore anything that starts with 3 double quotes and ends with 3 double quotes. Okay, triple double quotes. Alright, so I'll just take the help of this program. Since we have understood the logic of this program, I'll just copy this, but I'll just clear this output. Just clear this. Oh, what's happening? Okay, something is happening. So let's clear the output and I'll just copy this and paste it. Just copy this and paste it. I'll be doing the same program, but I'll be at the same time introducing you the function called line_num to count the number of records. So this time I'll just get rid of this. Okay, and then right here I'll be using if CSV_R, this is the reader object which is iterable. Alright, and then I'll be using the function called line_num. If it's not a function, I'm sorry, it's not a function. If you have anything like this, which means it's a function, it's ready to receive an instruction. So it's just a constant value or a value which is defined in this particular reader object. So this is like a data of the reader object, just like a pi value for a circle, just like a speed of light. These are nothing but the values. Okay, so if this is equal to 0, if this is equal to 0, sorry, this has to be 1. If the condition is true, I'll have a statement called continue. So what happens, in this program is initially, the line num, it's not a function, sorry, this particular value will return the number of lines iterated. Alright, it will return the number of lines iterated. So for row in CSV reader object, the row will have the first value. The row will have the first value, the row will have the first record or the first line. So tell me something, at the end of this particular statement, can I say the first row has been read? Or in other words, can I say the first line has been read? Yes, the answer is right. So line num, this value will return the number of lines iterated. So may I know how many lines have been iterated so far? That's going to be 1. So the condition is true. If the condition is true, I would like to force the continuation of loop. So this continue statement will ignore the rest of the looping statements, and then it will force the next loop to resume. Alright, so in the process what happens is, since the first line is the header, since the first line has the column names, I would like to exclude that because I want to count the number of actual records. That was the whole idea. That was the question all about. So this will be true to start with. The row will pick up the first line, and then this line_num value will return the number of rows iterated. So far the number of lines that have been iterated is just 1. Since the condition is true, this continue will force the next loop, as a result of which this will not be executed, and then count value will still remain as 0. And then for the subsequent 3 records, this condition will be false. This will be 2 is not equal to 1, the condition is false, the count will be incremented. So this will go on and on. So when you print, you will get the answer as number of records in player file is 3. So basically you have 2 ways to shirk or avoid taking the first line, which is header, into consideration. You could use the function called next, or as in this program you could use the it's not a function, I repeat, it's a value. It's a value. It's just like the pi value for a circle. Say if I want to think of a function or a data, I'll just keep the example short. You have the circle. Say I draw a circle right here right now. So this is like an object. This is like the CSVR. So calculating area is like a function. So that could be compared to the function of next. Okay, generally I'm speaking in general terms. And then the data, the pi value is nothing but a data of the circle object. Calculating area is a function. The pi value is an example of the data. So line underscore num is a data which will return the number of the records which have been iterated. Iterated means number of lines which have been scanned. Okay, so we'll now go to the next program number 6. Program number 6 says to search the record of a particular player. Just change this to player from CSV file on the basis of entered name. So this should be a cakewalk. I'll just copy and paste it. Okay, I'll just copy and paste it. Now that you have understood the logic of the program, it's all right for me, not for you, to copy and paste the program. Okay, so I'll make some changes. All right, the question says I need to input a player name based on which I get to see the complete information. As of now, we just have the rank, the name of the player, and the country. You could have many more column names like the club, the number of goals, the whatnot. So I'll have to insert a statement to receive the name whose record is to be displayed. So I'll just write here pname player name equal input enter the player's name. Okay, so now there seems to be a problem here. I mean to enclose this particular string in a pair of this single quote and this single quote, but I mean apostrophe here. But since this is a single quote, it has its special meaning. We may mean this as an apostrophe, but the interpreter will use this as the closing quote for this opening quote. But I mean otherwise, I mean something else. I want to use this as the apostrophe. So what could be the solution? How I wish you could answer live. Okay, some of you may be able to provide the answer to this problem. You have to use the escape sequence, remember? So this escape sequence will help us to convert this into the apostrophe, right? Since this has a special meaning, if you want to change it to apostrophe, how you use it in English sense, use this the escape sequence. And then okay, let's speed up the programming. Okay, so row will pick up the first record or the first line, and then how do you check if row of, is it 0 or is it 1 or is it 2? The first element points to the rank, is it? So the index row of index 0 will point to the rank, row of 1 will point to the player's name, row of 2 will point to the country. So I'll have to use the index of 1. If row of 1, or if the first player's name is equal to the name which has been entered by the user, which is represented by the variable of p name, if the condition is true, why don't you print the entire row? Alright, and then just in case if the player is not found, let's use the variable called found. The initial value should be false. Be careful, if you write like this, it's a compilation error. This is not a keyword, this is just a normal variable name. So you must have the F as the capital F, and then if there's a match, print the complete information of that entered name, and then I'll just have the found value changed to found value to true, and then let's come out of the program. All right, so if let's say if there are 100 such records, and then if I manage to find the record at the 10th line or at the 10th row, it's better to come out of the program. That should be the end of the program. It's meaningless, senseless to make the program run till the end, because I got what I'm looking for. So you need to use the break statement. That will have a definite impact on the speed of the execution of the program. I'm sure you must have heard like this program works faster, that the Google Chrome is much faster. So differences like these will eventually make the difference between the program being fast or program being slow. That's it, I guess. And then I need to check whether the record has been indeed found. So if not found, if the value of found remains to be false, if the condition is never ever true, the value of found will never change to true. It will remain as false. If it remains as false, the not of false is true. So the overall condition of not found will be true in case the player name is not found. And that's when you have to print a message saying p name is not found in the file. Okay, so let's run the program and check. Okay, let's say I would like to go for Neymar. Okay, press enter. There you go. If not found, what mistake did I make? Okay, I made a mistake here. The program is partially correct. Let's run the program again. Since the major chunk of the program is working correctly, I got the output correct, but I messed up here. And then say Neymar. Be careful, make sure that you got the spelling right. So I get to see Neymar, the complete information about Neymar. So it's something like when you check the result of your board examination, come May of 2021, you'll be checking your result. And then how do you check online? You need to enter the key fields like admission number, the exam, the board exam, the roll number, and then once you enter, you get the complete information, and that record is going to contain the marks of every individual subjects, right? So this is how you write the program to search the record for a particular player from the CSV file on the basis of entered name. If you would like to do the same program via the rank, all you need to do is change the index and the program will run correctly. Okay, let's move on to program number 7. Let's check the time. Okay, it's already 1 hour. Okay, program number 7. Program number 7, to write data into, again, so sorry, this has to be player, all right? And then I'll just run this. Okay, now this time I now need to write it. I now need to write the data into the player using the write row method. So again, just like how you read the file, I now need to write a program which will help us to write the data. So we'll prepare the fields, the column names and the records, and then we'll get on with the writing operation. So let's have a field list, and then I'll have the fields like the roll number, alright, and then the name, and then followed by the marks. So this is nothing but the list. So in this program number 7, I'm going to create a new CSV file in which I now need to enter the field names like roll number, name, marks, followed by 3 of the records. And then after this, I'll have the records, okay, equal to, I'll have 3 records. The first record, this is going to be a nested list. The first record will contain 1, we'll keep it simple, 1A, the marks will be 99. I love to write 99. This is what I wish, for you to get 99 in all the subject in the board examination. Okay, so this is going to be the first line, or the first element, or the first record, or the first row. The second will be B, if not 99, at least 98. So this is the second element, and then we'll have, let's have one more element, 3, C, this is going to be the name, and then finally, if not 98, at least not 87, 97. And then just for the sake of understanding, I'll just have this push to the next line. Likewise, the second list element, and then the third. You don't need to break this, but I'm doing this so that you can understand better. Okay, there you go. Okay, this is nothing but the nested list. You could have this in a single line. You don't really need to do this. So I now have the field ready, the records ready. It's now time to create the file object as well as the reader object. So with open, the name of the file will be stew. This time I have to create a new file, and the extension will be .csv. You cannot leave the file mode empty. By default, the file mode is read, but this time we'll have to write. So it's going to be W. And then you have one important mode called new line, whose value will be set to empty character. I have a reason. If you do not have this, what happens is the stew.csv, as a result of opening it, the delimiter of new line character will be used. Okay, at the end of each line there will be a new line character, but the write row method will again have its own practice of using a new line character at the end of each row or each record. So there will be 2 new line characters. So via this, I'm saying I don't want the new line character to be inserted, by the open function. So which means I'll have no 2 unnecessary 2 new line characters. Rather, I'll just have 1. So if I leave it empty, which means the new line character which will be inserted at the end will not be inserted. Hence you need to have this. So if you're not really sure, why don't you get rid of this and then run the program, and then have this back and then run the program. You will see the definite difference between the two. So the name of the file object will be F. Now the next time, just like we need the reader object, but this time we need the writer object. Read is from the file towards the program, but writer will be the opposite, will be the inverse. It will be from the program to the file. Okay, so let's have the variable name first. CSV writer. This is just a name. You could do it with any name, but do not ever write reader. So that will, even though it will work, it's logically correct, but that will create unnecessary confusion. So writer equals, the name of the module is CSV, the toolbox, remember, and the tool, the spanner. Are you going to use the spanner? Are you going to use the screwdriver? But this time I'll have to use a function called writer, using the file object of f. So this time this writer will convert the file object to writer object. So it is through the writer object of CSV writer that will be able to enter the user's data into the CSV file. Okay, so in other words, this writer object will help us to convert the user's data into the data which will be retained in the player stew.csv. So it is just like a converter. If you want to go to France, okay, unless and until you learn how to speak French, you will not survive. Just a matter of exaggeration. So likewise, it is through the CSV writer object that you'll be able to enter the user data, which will eventually go to the stew.csv. So likewise, the reader does the same thing. They are simply functions which are used to convert one format to another format. Okay, so first things first, we'll have to write the field. So now this time it's going to be CSV underscore writer dot. I'll have to use the function of write row. I'll have to use the function of write row. So it's going to be write row. What is it that you want to write? Which row that you want to write? That's going to be the field. So the field will have the list with the values of roll number, name, marks, and these will be written through CSV writer to the file object of f, and this file object is eventually connected to stew.csv. So this function will convert the file object to writer object, so that through the writer object we'll be able to write the user's data. I hope you're able to connect the dots. Hope you're able to link the chain. Okay, it's now time to write the records. Okay, so there are two ways to do it. The first way is to write the record line by line. So again, I need to iterate, or I need to walk downwards line by line, or you could use another function that will be covered in the last program, I guess. So let's use the for loop. For row in records. Okay, now the first value of row, what is this records? This records is a nested list. So this records is iterable. Iterable means scannable, row by row. So ROW will have the first value of the first element of records. So in a way, the value of row will be 1A99. And then I now need to write the first value of row into the stew.csv. So again, it's going to be the writer object of CSV writer. You have to use the function of write row. What is it that you want to write? You'll have to write the row. Alright, so this will go on and on, okay, until all the rows will be written. So finally, I'll just have the message called file created. Okay, I'll just leave a space here. So I hope I got the program right. So let's run the program and check. So let's run the program. Okay, I got this file created, but you can never ever say that your program is completely correct. we need to check whether the file has been indeed created or not. There are two ways to do it. We can go behind the scene and check whether the file has been created with all 3 records inserted correctly, or a better idea could be to use the first program. Where is it? Okay, we'll use the first program to check whether the file has been created or not. Okay, how do I make modification to this program so that I'll get to see the output or the content of the file? All we have to do is just change the name of player, okay, to Stu. Okay, let's run the program. Okay, there you go. Roll number, name, marks, 1A 99, 2B 98, 3C 97. These were the records which were entered through the program. I guess it was 7. Okay, let's use the program number 2 also. Let's change this to STU and then run this. Okay, I get to see a nested list with individual element as the rows, individual rows or the individual lines of stu.csv. We can use this also. Okay, we'll just use this stu and then run this. It should work correctly, right? And then this should also run. Okay, we'll just do it. Oh, no, that's not this, sorry. Run this. We'll just change this. We'll just change this to stu. Run it. I should get the correct output. And then, okay, can we use this? Oh, we want to search it. Number of records, that will work all right. And then we'll use this program as well. Let's change the player to Stu. Run this. I write A. The answer that I'll get is 1A 99. So this is how you write the program. This is the first ever program to write the records into the CSV file. Okay, program number 8. Let's append. Let's add some record to stu.csv, but through a different way. So again, I'll be presenting you another way to write the data through a program. So again, I don't need all this, but I definitely need these 2 lines. So I'll just copy and then I'll just paste it. Or I'll just write it. Okay, with open, the name of the file is stu.csv. This time the file mode should be A, because we want to add the records. We want to append the record. We don't want to create a new record. So with open and then as F, and then why don't you get rid of new line character by assigning an empty character to the new line argument. Alright, and then I'll have the colon. Let's create the writer object. CSV_w is equal to the module of CSV dot, the name of the function is writer. Okay, let's use the file object of F. So the writer will convert the file object to writer object, right? And then I'll use the ANS to prompt the user, whether to continue or not, with the entry of the records. Initially it will be Y, and then as long as the value of answer, let's have this converted to lower, as long as it's equal to Y, some students may enter big Y, to mean that they indeed would like to continue with the entry of records. So that'll be, the big Y will be converted to lower. Okay, so if the condition is true, which means you want to get on with the entry of records. So the first one is roll number, remember? So roll number is equal to int input roll number, and the next one is the name. Input name is equal to, and then finally I'll have the marks. Int input and then marks is equal to. I'll just combine all three values into a list called data. Data equal roll number, the first element, the second element will be name, the third element will be marks. Alright, that's it, I guess. Okay, I now need to add it. Remember, I now need to add it. So how can you do so? You have to again use the writer object of CSVW. Alright, and then the name of the function is write row. What is it that you want to write? It has to be data. Okay, so it's nothing much different from the earlier program. It's just that the way I did it is a little different. Okay, and then prompt the user whether they wish to continue or not. So this time it'll be input add more record, supposed to be a question. That's it, I guess. And then finally, I don't need to close also. I guess this is the end of the program. Okay, so I hope I got the program correct. Let's run the program. There were 3 roll numbers, remember, 1 2 3. Let's enter 4. The name will be ABCD. The marks will be 89. Do you wish to enter more records? Say Y. Let's enter one more record. Roll number 5. The name will be E. The marks will be 88. And then finally I want to say no. So again, let's go back and check whether the program has indeed worked correctly or not. So if I run this, I should not only see the first 3 records, I should also be seeing the later 2 records which were appended, right? So let's run this. Okay, there you go. The new records, the later 2 new records have been appended correctly. So you check the result through running the program, or you could always go behind the scene and check and open the raw file itself. Okay, so this is how you append the records. So as you can see here, the record, the later 2 records have been successfully appended or added. Okay, so this particular program is nothing much of difference from the earlier program. Logically it's just the same thing. The way I did it is a little different. So finally, the final program for today's will be write data onto student using write rows method. Alright, so this time I'll be using a file by the name of stu1. Okay, I'll be using write rows. That should be a cakewalk, since this is the last program. Hopefully you must have understood all the earlier programs. So program 9 should be simple. The difference between the program 7 and program 9 is, in program number 7 we have written the individual row one by one, as a result of which we have used the loop to iterate, to walk line by line. I read the second line, I write it. I read the third line, I write it. So it happens on a iteration basis. So but in program 9 I'll be using the write rows, which will write all the records at one go, which means you don't really have to use the for loop. Alright, but for this I need to take the help of these 2 values. Okay, or perhaps in order to save the duration of the video, perhaps I'll copy all these and then I'll just paste it. But when you practice, for God's sake, do not ever, no matter how good you are, okay, but I strictly advise you to avoid copying and pasting, since these are the beginning days of your programming language. You need to really get used to the program. Okay, so these statements are self-explanatory. I've used the write row But instead of using the for loop and again using the write row, what you could do is you could use this CSV writer dot write rows. Please note that this time I have added an additional character by the name of S. The difference between the two is write row will help us to write just one list. One list, will denote one line on one record. But write rows will allow us to write a nested list. A nested list is nothing but, the collection of individual lists. And these individual lists are nothing but the collection of lines or collection of records. So the write rows will help us to write nested list. So even if I call it nested list, it's nothing but the collection of lines or collection of rows or collection of records which will be written at one go. So I can just specify the nested list records. As you could see here, it opens here and it closes here. So this is an example of nested list. These individual elements are nothing but the lines. So with the help of write rows, I'll be able to write the records at one go. I'll just print a message saying records added, or perhaps in order to make it little interactive, all records added at one go. Okay, so let's run the program and check whether it runs all right. Let's run this. The name of the file is stew.csv, which means I have now replaced. I should have used the stew1 in order to keep the stew intact, but now that's all right. I've replaced it. All records added at one go. So if I open stew.csv, I should see roll number, name, marks, and then 1A, 2B, and 3C. So let's go and check. Let's rerun the program. Now this time when I run this, I will only get to see 1A, 2B, 3C. It's not that the later two rows have been deleted. Alright, the earlier copy of stew, which has 5 records, 1 to 5, will would have were actually totally replaced by the next file with the same file name of stew.csv. Right, so in today's lesson, we have learned the basic concepts of CSV. It stands for comma separated values. The moment you see this word CSV, the immediate definition that should strike your mind is it's nothing but a type of plain text file which will have just the plain numbers and the text. So this format is nothing but they are used to arrange the data in a tabular format, in the format of rows and columns. Rows being the records and the columns being the field names, and they are used in order to transfer or exchange data or the information from one program to another program, one platform to another platform. It could be from a database program onto a Facebook page, or to a Twitter page, or to the web browser. So basically, when the information are exchanged from one platform to another platform, there are many formats, but one very popular format, one format which is so simple, which is so easy, which is so compatible with many of the applications on the platform, is CSV. So with this, I would like to end my video. I sincerely and seriously hope that you have understood the lesson in its entirety, and then I advise you to watch the video again and again. And as usual, my earnest request is, once you have watched the video, it's super important to get on hands-on practice on the computers. Alright, so with this, we have come to the end of one of the in fact I could say it's the longest, if it's not the second longest chapters in your curriculum. So even though there are many problems to be solved, there are many questions at the end of the chapter in the textbook, I'll not be touching those, otherwise I'll be in no position to finish the chapter anytime soon. So with this, I would like to call into this particular chapter of file handling, and then from next video lesson onward, I'm thinking of starting the next chapter of recursion. If I'm not wrong, recursion, that should be much simpler program. Okay, until then, please take care, and then I'll see you in the next video lesson. Thank you very much and take care.